hippocampus has long been implicated in mnemonic memory functions, based on famous experiments. For instance, HM, this famous patient, I think Henry Molassen is his name, long spelled out, who was an epileptic patient who found relief from epileptic seizures after a part of his hippocampus was removed, surgically removed. Yeah? But it had the tragic consequence that he basically lost his ability for short-term memory. He could remember old things, previous things stored back in earlier in his biography, but any new information could not be encoded. Yeah? And that gave a very strong hint, mind you, anecdotally, that this region is crucial for memory processing. And that has been supported before and after already by other clinical points, insights, experiments. And then this field was then, or this idea was strengthened with a finding in rodent models, also rabbit originally, actually, rabbit brain, of the discovery of synaptic potentiation. Mm-hmm. So an electrophysiological functional correlate of how memory may be encoded. And that then led people to study the hippocampus, where this phenomenon was observed in greater and greater detail. And then people could show that synapses in the hippocampus are particularly tuned to, or especially prone to expressing synaptic plasticity. So there was this major interest. And then on top of that, turned out that the hippocampus is a very convenient structure to study. Mm-hmm. It's, even though it's deeply embedded in the brain, it can be cut out. You can produce, generate slices, brain slices out of it. You can cultivate them. It's also not impossible to reach it under intact brain conditions, with electrodes from afar, now even optically. And then it has a nice, let's say, a nice anatomical organization. It's very structured. It's not salt and pepper like in the cortex. It's really a very beautiful arrangement of cell types, very orderly, very laminar. That makes the interpretation also of the results, the recordings, the electrophysiological recordings, much easier. Because of the sort of the physics of the electrical features, sort of, if you will, of the fields, and that also promoted the use of this preparation.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And you mentioned the term synaptic plasticity. Can you maybe inform us about the relation between this term, synaptic plasticity, also the hippocampus and and memory, for example?
Synaptic plasticity refers to the phenomenon of some change in the function, ultimately, of the synapse, in its ability to carry information from one cell to another under specific circumstances, to reroute then effectively the electrical activity that runs through that curves through a circuit. And that is the term itself, synaptic plasticity, synapse, refers to the synapse, and plasticity is a term borrowed from mechanics or from physics, where it refers to a plastic change, some permanent change, or some change that outlasts the stimulus. And that's what you would want in a memory device, something that remembers something, that has some realization, some correlate of some stimulus, and that then this change persists and can be read out at some future point. Mm-hmm. And this malleability, this plasticity, was first documented in the hippocampus to be really present there in a pronounced way, and then this is an hippocampus where all these where all these clinical observations had indicated that this is really crucial for memory processing.
Mm-hmm. And maybe we can just briefly mention and don't go deeply, but the hippocampus is responsible, let's say, for certain type of memory. Then this memory are perhaps transferred to other brain regions, such as the cortex, as in the case of HM, who had already his memory stored somewhere, not in the hippocampus. And this topic is also a very, very intense research field in neuroscience, and also very interesting.